Hi, this is Rachel Boyle, and this is my Chapter 2 summary of the textbook Creating Literacy Instruction for All Students, 10th edition, by Thomas G. Gunning. I'll be discussing what I believe are the three main points within this chapter. Point 1, classrooms are diverse. We are reminded in this chapter that there is an increase in diversity within racial and ethnic groups. I've included on this screen a YouTube video. If you have a chance to go see that, it shows the increase from 1995 to presently, 2020, and the projected increase that will be seen within classrooms here in the U.S. in race and ethnicity. The chapter also goes on to discuss economically disadvantaged students. So not only does a classroom have a diverse ethnic and racial groups, it also has diversity within social and economic status. As you can see here, this is not easy for a child to be living within a family who's struggling financially or within other issues. This book does not talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but I've included this because when I read about this topic, it makes me think about Maslow's hierarchy of social school needs, and that we need our physical needs met first and foremost in order to be able and ready to learn. As we continue to talk about diversity within the classroom, we also need to think about the fact that classrooms are inclusive. That means within your classroom, you have students of many different learning levels. There are children within your classroom, in your general education classroom, who have learning disabilities and who are gifted. Some of these learning disabilities are things like reading difficulties, ADD, ADHD, intellectual disabilities, slow learners, autism spectrum disorder, language speech disorders, many different levels of learning, all within a classroom. This also makes me think about something that's missing. As we talk about diversity in the classroom, we've talked about racial and ethnic diversity. We've talked about social economic diversity and learning, the diverse learners. But I have also added something that was not within this chapter, but makes me think about the fact that we must also think about the multiple intelligences, that we all learn best different ways. We all have different interests. This also creates diversity. On to point 2. We need to accommodate the needs and interests of our diverse students. Because we have diversity of learning abilities within our classroom, we have to be prepared to make modifications and accommodations for each and every student. Some examples within the book is allowing choices, providing aids like pictures and using an overhead projector, allowing breaks, movement. Some children need to be allowed to move. Some students will need us to minimize distractions for them, and peer tutoring may need us to provide some peer tutoring that would help them learn. All students need us to help them engage. We need to make sure that we're picking books that interest them specifically. We need to make sure that books are of their reading level and not consider grade level, but know their level, and making sure that the books are at their level will inspire them to read and learn to enjoy it and want to do it. And the more they read, the more they'll progress through the levels. We need to affirm their efforts We need to recognize how hard they're working. We need to celebrate their successes. We need to foster teamwork that creates these relationships and this climate, positive culture within our classroom. We need to make sure we provide access to the materials they need. When you consider socioeconomic issues, students need our help, making sure that they have everything they need. We need to be sure we are never assuming that they have what they need. Never assume that they have the materials they need or that they're going to have the adult assistance for something to be done at home. Don't make assumptions. If at all possible, provide them with everything that they need. And of course, because of this increase in racial and ethnic groups, there's going to be many English language learners. And we need to be sure that we're providing everything they need. They need all those other things we've talked about, a positive climate and relationships and access to materials and all those things. But they also need us to build background knowledge. This can also be for the socioeconomic disadvantaged student who may not have experienced as many things that someone of a higher social class might have gotten to have access to. But the book does go on to reiterate, never assume a student needs some background knowledge on something. Always assess background knowledge and experiences first so that you're not making assumptions. And of course, always build vocabulary and include everyone's culture. The third and last main point is tracking progress. This textbook, this chapter 2, talks about the response to intervention and the multi-tiered systems of support. The way this works is all students are screened, and most students fall at the green area of that pyramid where everyone's receiving this tier 1 instruction. Everyone's being offered the same academic and behavioral support within tier 1. Some students will need a little more. They'll fall within the yellow. They'll get some extra help with some things. And a few will need even more. They're going to need interventions and intensive help. And so a few students fall at the top. Those students at the top receive everything that's all the services within Tier 1 and Tier 2 as well as Tier 3. As I was researching this RTI and NTSS, something that came up was this concept of fair is not equal. In a sense that some people need more than others, and that's still fair. So everyone is going to get Tier 1 instruction, but some need a little more. Some need a lot more assistance. And so this is important, to be screening and providing services and providing continuous monitoring of progress. As you can see those arrows, I'll enlarge it for you here so you can see a little bit better. There's going to be this constant analyzing data, making plans to implement, and then evaluating how it's going and coming up with more strategies and plans for how to continue doing that. So to end, I'll just reiterate. We discussed point 1, classrooms are diverse. Main point 2, we need to accommodate everyone's needs and interests. And point 3, we need to track progress. This book, this chapter 2 ends with talking about teaching all students with a multicultural, culturally responsive approach. So it makes me think about how we're also unique. We all have our own strengths, our own interests. We have our needs. We have the backgrounds and experiences that we come with. We have our home life. This creates who I am, who you are. This is my culture. That is your culture. Our students, every one of them, has their culture, their backgrounds, their experiences, their home life, everything, their interests, their needs, everything that makes them who they are. We need to be responsive to that. Thank you.